Good morning and welcome back to the Football Terrace. Tottenham Hotspur have hijacked Manchester United's move for Sergio Reguilon. Agreement has been reached between Tottenham and Real Madrid. An agreement has been reached and finalised between Sergio Reguilon and Tottenham. He is on his way to a total agreement. Here we go. Jose Mourinho gets his man. And this transfer is going to spark fury amongst the Manchester United faithful. Less than 12 hours ago, Manchester United firmly believed they were in the driving seat and they were negotiating their way to securing Sergio Reguilon as their own player. We didn't want to pay the 30 million euro fee, and we're doing well in negotiations. There are two separate buyback clauses that Tottenham have yielded to, that Tottenham have conceded to, which, by what we read, essentially makes this transfer a glorified loan deal for Tottenham Hotspur. Man United refused all three of those elements and felt that a club of their size was never going to yield on an asset, was never going to give... Essentially, Real Madrid have far more control over Sergio Reguilon's future right now than Tottenham are going to have. And Man United felt that they didn't want to operate in that space. The buyback clause is somewhere in the region of 30 to 35 million pounds. That's reported today, meaning at any point, if Real Madrid want him back, that is all they have to pay, regardless of the market value. Or if another club makes a bid, say of 50, 60 million, Real Madrid get first refusal to match that bid and buy him. It's by what we read, it's a fairly weak position for Tottenham to leave themselves in. But I know there are a lot of Man United fans out there who would still want to get this deal done. So I want to hear from you. I'm only reporting what's being said. I'll give you my opinions later on down the line in this video. But I first of all need you to hit the like and share button. I'm absolutely sure that rivals want to come on and have their say. Yeah, my pictures are all crooked because my daughter's been in here, you know. She loves coming in here and touching things. Look. Let me move that again. Let me straighten that up. She broke Mason Greenwood's frame the other day. Someone pointed out that she comes in here and gets on the chair and starts touching things. But there we go. Sensationalist FC says Ollie's Paul, they said. Listen, I mean, you can't... This is nothing to do with Ollie. This is absolutely nothing to do with Ollie. If Manchester United are not prepared to match Real Madrid's fee and they're not prepared to let Real Madrid have the buyback clauses they want, this is why the deal hasn't gone through. Jerome here says Spurs desperately need a proper left back after the crap show we've had on Sunday. Sorry, Man United. Oh, you guys haven't got to be sorry. As I said, it's very hard for me to have an opinion on this right now because I need to see the wood for the trees. We need to see what the buyback clauses look like. And that's imperative for Manchester United fans to wait for that information, because when the Haaland deal didn't go through, I was gutted because all signs look positive. And then when the dust settles and you see that they insisted on a 50 million buyout clause from the summer of 2021, the answer is absolutely not. Not in a month of Sunday should Man United ever allow themselves to be in a position where they could lose a key asset for that level of money. It should never be allowed, and it will never be allowed. So the Sergio Reguilon deal doesn't overly surprise me. It truly doesn't surprise me that if it's a very low buyback clause, a first refusal, that isn't too bad if Man United dictate how much money the player is going to go in for. But that's what we're being told. Let's go through this morning's tweets from Fabrizio Romano, who says here, just in, Sergio Reguilon to Tottenham is here we go. The agreement has reached agreement has been reached in the last few hours with Real Madrid. 30 million euros is the final fee. Reguilon signed personal terms with Tottenham and accepted to join. Also, after talks with Man United, only paperwork to be signed. And look, the Reguilon talks with Man United are almost immaterial by the fact that Man United didn't come to an agreement with Real Madrid. He then goes on to say Tottenham have conceded to both of Real Madrid's clauses. They have asked for a buyback and what they call a preemption, which I have heard of them before. I think that's a different phrasing to what we're used to, but preemption, I think, means they can match the bid. A purchase of goods or shared by one person or a party before the opportunity to be offered to others. Pronounced as I'm going to get them to pronounce it right here.
Preemption.
Preemption, that's what I thought it said. Sorry, my dyslexic brain was kicking in. So essentially it means if Man United bid £50 million for him in the future, Real Madrid have the opportunity to buy him back. What I don't understand yet is how that correlates with the buyback clause. There may be a time limit on the buyback clause where the buyback clause takes precedent. Maybe the buyback clause is only in operation if nobody else bids for the player. As I say, we need to see the wood for the trees. But do me a big favor, hit the like and share button. I am gutted though. I am genuinely gutted. I spent a lot of time researching this lad, really excited about hopefully seeing him at Man United. Yesterday afternoon was I would say absolutely sure. I'm very sure that the deal was going to go through. I trust what Fabrizio Romano tells us. But this is the transfer market, and this is exactly what I've been talking about for weeks. It can be there. Man United I honestly felt that Man United believed that they were going to get that deal done. They were going to get that deal over the line and make Real Madrid yield. And I think they were winning the negotiations. And then Tottenham walk in and say, "Oh, Madrid, we'll give you what you want." And it changes things. Understand that transfer negotiations, bang, change overnight if another team makes a better offer or is going to yield. Tottenham fans, I want to know from you, are you happy to give Real Madrid such a strong deal in this situation? I really want to know, because my head is telling me Man United are absolutely right to not allow somebody else to control their assets. My heart is absolutely gutted that we haven't got him. I'm literally in two places at the same time right now. It's like an out-of-body experience. I want your views. I want your opinions. I'm going to go to your super chats here. First one says, I don't understand why Man United refused 30 million. I understand the buyback clause. It is a no, but why refuse a price as low as 30 million euros? It baffles me. Yes, I agree with that element, but if we weren't going to agree to the buyback clauses and Tottenham were, the deal isn't going to go through anyway. So your frustration almost becomes elementary and immaterial. It wouldn't be, it's not worth thinking about. The focus here is, what is the deal? By the way, if the buyback clause is like 50, 60 million, then I'm going, okay, maybe Tottenham got a better deal. I need to wait and see for the dust to settle before we start to judge this. Super chat here from Jerome. Sorry, we already had that one there. Rocky, thank you for your super chat. Oral says, love what my club is doing. That's what a big club do. Oral Campbell, I'm not sure who you support, bro. Mark here says, so much for him wanting to come to United. Well, he may want to come to Man United. But if Man United don't do an agreement with Real Madrid, he can't come to Man United. He's a professional. He needs to secure his future. So much, by the way, for the lying media a few days ago that said he'd rather go on loan to Sevilla. The one thing I would say, though, is there are a lot of people that think that he wants the buyback clauses in his contract as well, because his desire is to play for Real Madrid again in the future. And you know, from my point of view, ask yourself that, Man United fans. Imagine you sign a player who only wants to come to you as a stopgap to go back to Real Madrid. At the beginning, that is what his aim is. That's what's being reported. Spurs fans, do you want that? Man United fans, do you want that? That's the question I would pose to you this morning. A comment here from Kay says, Man United are just not the same anymore. I disagree. I think pushing back on these deals where there's buyback clauses where we lose control of our players, I think that's being Man United. I think that's being strong. And a lot of people think, no, that's being weak. I look at it the other way. We were weak in the market for 7 years, and it's why would people take the piss out of us? You have to build up your steam again. You have to build up your credibility. And how do you do that? You don't get bent over. If it's true what's being reported, so there's two trains here. If it's true what's being reported, Tottenham they have barely any control over Reguilon's future if he turns into a good player, which of course you want him to do, because Real Madrid can pop him back cheap at any time. That has to be a concern. However, if that buyback clause is big, really big, then Man United, for me, have messed up somewhat. They really have. Jerome here says, don't be gutted, Terry. I'm sure it's a Spursy buyback clause, but Spurs are desperate. That is from Jerome, who is a Spurs fan, with that comment there. Get your super chats in. We want to hear from you. Skype lines are going to open in a few moments for yourselves to call in and have your say. Gareth Bale is also due back at Tottenham today, which is great, for them. And again, that's not going to kick off and annoy a lot of Man United fans right now at this instant. But I'm telling you now, it will in the long term. Sorry, just sending a message to the group chat there. Let's go to the first call. This is Anand. Anand, welcome to the Football Terrace. Who do you support? Anand, you're on mute, my friend.
Hello.
Hello, buddy. What do you want to say?
Hello, buddy. Hi there, long time listener. Yeah, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you, my friend. What's on your mind? Sergio Reguilon about to join Tottenham. How are you feeling about that?
Okay, so there's two angles that I look at it. Yeah, one is the business side because I'm into business. I absolutely get that. Yeah, I get United strategy. I get the idea of not having a buyback clause. All of that is perfect. But the fan in me is really frustrated because not for the Sergio Reguilon deal particularly because we've been monitoring FC for a long time. Yeah, whether you look at Upamecano, Sancho, Badishil, I'm just frustrated right now. I think it's got to a point where I've been a long time listener, but I've never called in. And today I just had to call in because I was so frustrated. I needed to get went out, so I called in.
Yeah.
It's annoying being a United fan, Terry. It's just annoying. It's just frustrating. I don't know what's up. I get the logic in terms of the business. Waiting till I think I think Dortmund will yield. I think a couple of millions will be saved in the final week, but at what cost? Yeah, I think in terms of social media interactions and stuff, releasing 4 posts yesterday on Twitter made perfect sense. They got a lot of traction with that. I don't know. I just don't know, Terry. I don't know. I think we need a director of football. I think that's probably the only saving grace because Odo's not going to go. He's making the millions. I think United's market share over the time and other things in the New York Stock Exchanges.
There's no doubt on that. One thing I completely agree with. There's a lot of talk about Glazers out, Woodward out at the moment. And listen, I share the sentiment. So there's two things here. Me saying that we're trying to do not be held over a barrel. I agree with. The problem we have as a football club is hundreds of millions of pounds a year, tens of millions a year, hundreds of millions over the last 3 or 4 years get taken out the club every single year, every single quarter, money's taken out, every year money's taken out, every 5 years money's taken out, billions have been taken out since the Glazers own the football club. And that does damage you in the transfer market because it just means that you're not as far in front of people as we should be as a football club who has the biggest fan base in the world, as one of the biggest incomes in the world. So I totally get that element of frustration. And then I think what happens is we see these deals in these moments and we look at the fact that we're walking away because of the buyback clauses, which I agree with. We should never sign a player where we lose that much control over our asset in the future. You just can't put yourself into that position with how much money football players are worth. Imagine this guy kills it in the Premier League. He's worth 70, 80 million in the market, and you end up losing him for 35 million pounds. That actually, when it happens, would also cause an absolute outrage from fans. So I can't, I don't want to correlate my overall feelings with the Glazers with this one particular deal, but I do understand one thing. Our league starts this weekend. We've only signed one player. I totally get why fans are angry and frustrated because we could have done a lot more business. Bro, I appreciate you calling in, having your say this morning. Thank you very, very much, as always. Next up on the show, we've got Pav, long-time viewer. Pav, what do you want to say, mate?
Oh, how you doing, man? You good?
I'm all right, mate. I'm not going to lie. I am frustrated this morning. I have to admit, I'm very frustrated.
Right, so I've got a few points to make, right? First point is that our fans are the biggest snowflakes going out of any Premier League team. Like you've got fans on Twitter calling for Brits, you're a fraud. My man hasn't said anything about Reguilon, saying, "Oh, here we go, he's going to join United," and yet you got our fan base calling this person a fraud, that person a fraud. All he's done is basically said talks are ongoing, but Man United don't want the clauses, right?
Yep.
And then secondly, we've got a fan base who are like, obviously, you got all this Glazer out bullshit. The same fans, right? And this is I've joined that little Glazer out parade because it's like contradicting myself when I put money into, like, obviously, say, like, I buy a membership every year, so I can go to a game or two a year. So I'm not going to go out there, put Glazer up tweets and shit when I'm putting money into the club. You know what I mean?
Bro, yeah, mate.
That,
yeah, 100%. 100%. I saw yesterday, right? So, I mean, there's someone sent me through a lot of information here. There's been sent some information from a journalist that I reached out to this morning. He says the reported buyback clause in this deal is between 40 and 45 million euros. So, whatever fluctuation is, high 30s. I understand why Man United would pull out of would not want to do a deal like that, first and foremost. Again, I'm frustrated because I wanted the player, but when I leave my brain, I'm like, okay, that makes a bit of sense. However, it does make sense. However, my view is very much this. The Fabrizio situation, what Fabrizio said yesterday, if you actually go with the linear timeline, it makes sense. Man United were going into final stage conversations. Man United felt they could, if nobody else comes in for, I thought it was regular. Is it Reguilon? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Reguilon.
Reguilon. So apologies for mispronouncing. So Reguilon. Man United were in the only team in for him, meaning that United could maybe get what they want. Suddenly Tottenham come in out of nowhere and just say, because they weren't even looking for a left back, and go, we'll match what you're after. Football fans have got to understand that that's how the transfer market works. You know, Man United were winning their negotiations last year for Harry Maguire. Started off, they wanted £90 million. Started off, they wanted £90 million for him. We got it down to around the high 70s, low 80s. We wanted to pay it in installments. And then Man City came in and said, well, we'll pay a lump sum fee for that amount. So United were forced into doing it. You know, and then we moaned about that. We moaned that we lost that battle in the end because another club came in. Today, we don't yield in that battle and we're moaning. This is the problem with Man United fans. Tell us what you want. You either want us to be strong or you want us to yield all the time. What is it? You can't have both.
The thing is, right, in a few years' time, like even we knew, right, Reguilon already come out and said his dream to play for Real Madrid, right? So in a few years, fans are going to moan that we paid 30 mil for him, right? And then in a few years' time, that Real Madrid may be buying back for like, say, 40. It makes no sense for us. Like, why would we want to buy a player? It's like an expensive loan. That's what Tottenham have done. They've got themselves an expensive loan, and they're in need more of a left back than we are.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one of these deals where in the future, we may look back. The problem we have is we're so angry with the Glazers that we then just throw everything into that bucket. Sometimes I can hang on a minute. It's like the Haaland deal. Haaland kills it this season and bangs 30 plus goals in and goes for 50 million next summer. United's haters will say, but it still would have been profit. He only cost 18 million. They're still going to make, yeah, but the man's worth 150 million pounds in the market and you're losing him for 50. It's not about what you paid versus what you get. It's about what the value of something is. And if I buy a house today for £100,000 and then sell it for 150,000, yeah, it's 50 grand profit. But if the house is worth £500,000, I'm losing money. Only dickheads don't understand that. We're going to go to Monstar and Kai in just a second. Just a breakdown of this deal. Fabrizio has shared this in full detail. He says that Tottenham are going to pay the 30 million euros upfront as a one-off fee. Spurs will accept both clauses of the buyback clause, which is around 40 to 45 million, and a preemption clause if any club will bid for Reguilon on next year's transfer market, they must call Real Madrid. So if next year a club bids for Real Madrid, they have to let Real Madrid know that somebody's coming for Reguilon. After that, there's a buyback clause of between 40 and 45 million pounds for this player. That, for me, if true, is a weak deal. That, for me, is weak. I want to go to Kai on this. Kai, what do you make of this situation with Sergio Reguilon going to Tottenham?
You know, it's for me, it's a very expensive loan. That's just basically what it is. It's Real Madrid getting 30 million and basically getting the player back for the same money if he's good, more or less. So basically, Real Madrid, they're just loaning a player and making money because I heard they're going to go for Awar. That's why they need the money right now. And Real Madrid and La Liga is forcing them to sell in order to buy. So basically, Spurs are being used as a tool for Real Madrid to buy another midfielder. That's why it is. In my opinion.
There's a comment here,
but he's a great player. He's a great player.
Listen, let me say this now again. Sergio Reguilon is a talented boy and can kill it. And there's a super chat here that says Chilwell's the most expensive fullback ever at 50 million. Let's not argue over that, but let's just say he is. A buyback clause in that region would not have been bad. Unlikely a fullback will go above 50 million. See, this is where you're wrong, MDS. Chilwell is arguably, there's the debate over it, but let's just say he is for now the most expensive transfer fee paid for a fullback. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson and Alfonso Davies are worth more than 50 million. It's not about what someone's been paid for now or last year. It's about what a player's worth, what their ceiling is, and also the fact that inflation exists. So players become more expensive as a general rule every year. So in 2 years' time, the fullback price for someone of Reguilon's level might be 65, 70 million. And if you lose him for 40, you're losing 35, you're losing between 25 and 35 million pounds on the valuation of your asset. That is why they're looking at bad business.
People don't realise, right? So Real Madrid bought a left back last year, right, for 50 mil, I believe, from Lyon, named Mendy. And back in the day, he almost had a career-ending injury, which, like, literally, they were saying he could never play football again, and somehow he pulled through that and played football. So just in case, like, say, like, later down the line, he starts to decline really quickly or something happens again, like injury after injury, they have that option of bringing back Reguilon and not having to pay too much money.
Yeah,
so, like,
in terms of the market, I mean, if he's good enough, yeah, and this is what it comes down to. If he's good enough, so if he's good enough to go back and play for Real Madrid, he's going to be worth more than 40, 45 million euros in a market where fullbacks are one of the most sought after positions in football. If he isn't good enough, then the buyback clause isn't worth anything because no major club's going to come in for him anyway, and Spurs have wasted 30 million euros. And if he isn't good enough, Man United fans won't feel gutted about losing him. So that's why I understand it's a weak deal. Equally, though, I am frustrated we're not doing more business. Monstar's with us. Sorry, I put you on mute, Monstar. There's a lot of noise in the background. What are you saying about this deal, bruv? Would you be happy if Chelsea signed a deal like this? If you signed Kai Havertz and Leverkusen had a buyback clause of, say, 60 million euros they could activate at any time, would you be happy? Are you there, Monstar? You're on mute, bro. He's not. Maybe he could be back in a second. Kylan,
I'm here.
Hello, brother. Hello, brother. I mean, what do you make of this deal? Do you think Man United fans are right to be angry? Do you think that United have done the right thing by pulling out, or do you think we're desperate for players and we should have just yielded to Real Madrid? What's your opinion, bro?
My opinion. I know we banter Man United and all that, yeah, but if this deal right here is a stupid deal, and I'll give you an example. Real Madrid, when they sold Morata to Juventus, they structured the same deal. And so what's going to happen is if Sergio Reguilon performs and they might not even want him, they will still buy him just to sell him on for profit. Do you know what I mean? So it's a thing where why would you, they're basically going to hold you by the balls. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, that is such a great... Someone tweeted about that yesterday. That is such a great point. So imagine this is what I would say to all outraged Man United fans this morning, and I'm literally plagiarizing Monstar here. Imagine Sergio Reguilon comes in and is the best fullback in the world. We're like, wow, he's our player. Worth 80, 90 million, and Madrid buy him back and then instantly sell him for that money. Could you imagine the outrage of Man United fans? You would hear Pratt the whole time. And by the way, all United fans saying Glazers out, I back you. Stop buying shirts. Stop wearing shirts. Stop buying match day tickets. Stop buying merchandise. Stop wearing jackets. Stop advertising the club if you want the Glazers out. If you advertise the club and you want the Glazers out at the same time actively as a protest against them, you're a hypocrite. Stop it.
Also, Terry, quickly,
go on, mate.
You guys still have Alex Tellers is still available, so it's not like there's other options available. He's not the only left back out. Right? Is he a right back? Is he left back? He's not the only left back out there anyway. So.
Alex George here has called you out, Monstar. He says absolute BS. He used more strong word than that. This isn't a stupid deal at all. And Alex there's
no one in the league who's more desperate than Tottenham who need players, man. So that's why Tottenham have done it. Look how desperate they are. Like, their left backs are shit. Like,
I'm not saying he's a bad player. I said
Reguilon is amazing. Reguilon, for me, he's twice the player choice.
Yeah, the deal is a ridiculous deal. If in a few years he could ball out for you guys and you're gonna lose him, you're not gonna be happy about that. You know what I mean? You're not.
Yo.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, can you not hear me?
Yeah.
Just Josh.
Yeah. No, I'm just checking because my Skype weren't working. Yeah, so first of all, the funniest thing about this whole thing is literally just the the Man United fans on my timeline. Like that's the funniest thing about it. I think they're over melting a bit. I've got to be honest. If there is a buyback clause of that kind of nature and it is quite cheap, then I think that it isn't the best deal. When it stinks of like Levy caving, caving to
Madrid.
to Mourinho. No, to Mourinho, because this is something that Levy wouldn't do, isn't it? Mourinho's gone, I need this, you need to do this, isn't it? Kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can I ask you, listen, we know how good the player is. That isn't a debate here. That isn't a debate at all. I wanted him. How, like, genuinely, when it comes to you, mate, how gutted would you be if he kills it for you and then in 18 months' time, he goes for, say it's 45 million euros. If he just goes and there's nothing you can do, would that be more frustrating for you as a Tottenham fan than simply not getting him now?
I'll tell you why not. I don't know if we're in a slightly different position to you, because most Tottenham fans, about 90% of us, believe in Ryan Sessegnon.
Yes.
And we always have, and Mourinho doesn't. Do you know what I mean? He was a Poch signing, yeah? So the way that we're looking at it, like I've been talking to a lot of my Tottenham fan mates, and we're looking at it like if Reguilon goes in 2 years, because that's what it rumoured is, it can't be activated for 2 years. By then, Sessegnon might be ready, Jose will be out of the club, and we might be in a better position. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously it's not going to be great, but the other thing you've got to take into account is it's a buyback clause, but Real Madrid will only buy him back to sell him on, and we will be in pole position to then sign him if we want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we want to pay the money that they want, like they'll be doing the same thing that most other clubs do, because they've still got Marcelo and Mendy who will be ahead of him. How old's Marcelo now? He's getting on.
So theoretically, you might end up having to buy back your own player. So it could end up, so you get 40 million for him, and then you buy him back for 60. So essentially, you're going to pay. Well, you get 20 million net on that plus what you've already paid, so it ends up costing you 50 mil. I mean, yeah, there is that option, but it all depends. This is the problem with it. There's so many potential outcomes, and the one thing you do lose control of is you lose control of the asset. It's like the Haaland deal with Dortmund. Dortmund can be as happy as they want. That Dortmund are essentially, as long as you pay the money, they're a selling club. Next summer, if Haaland kills it this year, Haaland's leaving next summer for a fee of around 50 million, unless this is where it will change. He could sign a new deal, but I wouldn't be surprised if he signs a new deal at Dortmund. But there's a big clause that goes in there, like the clause that Juve had with Paul Pogba, that 50% of the transfer fee goes to the agent.
Look, the thing that I say about this though is we have been trying to build for the future for a long time, and you bring in a manager like Jose Mourinho, who everyone knows I don't want anyway, but if you bring him in, you got to stop building for the future. Yeah, we've got players like Kane, Son, and other players that are like 27, 28, they're coming to the end of it. Buying young players that are going to be good in a few years is not going to be good for us. So if we're building for right now, signing Bale and signing Reguilon for this season that's a big upgrade.
I agree. But by the way, bringing Gareth Bale back in, I think is a masterstroke. You're going to get him for a very cheap loan fee. You're going to pay about 1/3 of his wages, so it's going to cost you 150,000 odd. Even if he just plays 20 league games for you, Gareth Bale is that good. In 20 league games, he could get you into the top. In those 20 league games, his contribution could put you into the top 4. And a lot of United fans are scoffing at the idea of bringing him in on loan. Trust me, when he comes in, when he scores 25 goals in all competitions for Tottenham next year, what you will see from these same this is the problem with United fans. They'll yield again and go, see, why didn't we buy him? We were stupid. Yeah. They literally change their tune every 5 minutes. Like I say, if we signed Reguilon on this deal, and then in 2 years' time lost him for £40 million, they would be absolutely raging. But the point I'm making is a bit like the deal I was making about Haaland. I don't ever want to lose control of my assets or be in a position where they then can negotiate and say, right, we'll sign a new deal. You look at the thing when Real Madrid, Juve got the £80 million for Paul Pogba, 40% of that went straight to the pocket of the agent.
Riola,
right?
Yeah.
That is what can end up happening now to Dortmund, or could end up happening to Tottenham in this instance, where Sergio Reguilon will say, hang on, we'll sign a new deal, and the new deal will, it'll be a big money deal, and it will get rid of the buyback clauses. But if we then get sold on, We then want a percentage of it. And problem is when you have an agent that has this big percentage clause of sell-on fees of players, that's why those agents are out there in the market trying to sell their players. Because for Mino Raiola, every time he sells a player, he gets between 10 and 50% of that transfer fee. And that's
Terry,
and that's what you can't be getting into bed with as a football club.
Terry, when if they do want to remove the clause, don't there have to be a negotiation between Real Madrid and Tottenham in order to have that removed? Don't Real Madrid have to agree?
Yeah, there has to be an element. There has to be an agreement of some sort in there if there's a buyback clause. However, normally with these buyback clauses, there's a time limit to them. So there could be a sort of, it might take 2 years to come into fruition, or it could be instant. Sometimes they're instant straight away, but they've got, say, like a 3-year cap to them. So after a 3-year period, Real Madrid is either you buy them back now, or we can negotiate a new deal. They always vary. And the problem is clubs will very rarely will they relinquish that level of information straight away. But the problem with all these deals is that you lose control of your asset. And for me, when you're a Chelsea, a Liverpool, a Man United, a Barcelona, a Real Madrid, I think, and you got to remember this, if United did do the business this way, if we did do the Haaland business with the buyout clause, we would be ripped from pillar to post by rivals for being weak. So whatever we do, there's banter. Man United fans have got to learn to take it. But I'll reiterate myself again before we go to man like Mo. I've seen a lot of United fans, especially on social media in the last few days, Glazers out this, Glazers out that. Great. If you're buying tickets for games, if you're buying or wearing shirts or advertising merchandise, if you're doing, listen, I got a really good friend who did a charity.